Good morning. I'm about to make a video complaining about men. That is my specialty. Niggas who lie are the dumbest motherfuckers ever. I just had a flashback about how when we first met, one of my exes was just like, "Oh yeah, I've done prostitution before as a man." And I was like, "Really?" He was like, "Yeah, I used to fuck old ladies for money, kind of like a sugar baby. It would just be like, yeah, they'd give me like a couple hundred or so and I'd meet up with them, have sex, made pretty good money, managed to make some savings that way." I was like, okay, good for you. Good for you. And eventually he was like, oh, this one lady hit me up online and she actually offered to give me some money. How do you feel about that? I said, go for it. Frankly, like, I don't really care how it goes. And, we aren't monogamous with each other. So have your fun. And frankly, whatever puts money on and like food on the table for you and your kid and a roof over your head. Because that's money you could just spend on someone important, like me. And he was like, all right, cool. And then, allegedly he did it. And he was like, yeah, it was like this really, really bony old lady. She didn't have anything on her. And it was really depressing, too. She was sad. Like, she just started crying about, like, her dad and, like, her husband dying and how she was just so, so miserable and how she just really needed to have sex to, like, feel something again. And I was like, oh, well, I'm glad you were able to do that for her. He said, yeah, but it didn't really do me that good because it's like, the sex was god awful. I had to pretend that I nutted. I was like, "You pretended?" He was like, "I pretended that I nutted," and he painted it as some sort of heartbreaking tale of him railing this old woman for like I forget how much it was, like $300 or so. And I didn't think much of it until months and months and months later, towards the end of our relationship, he just revealed, "I have never had sex with old women for money." And I was like, "What?" And he was like, "Nah." And I said, what about that time with that old lady that you talked about? He was like, what old lady? I was like, you know which old lady? The story you told me, you did a whole rant about it. He was like, no, I didn't. And I said, yes, you did. The entire sequence of events where you talked about some old lady you needed to dickin' down on the anniversary of the death of her husband. You told me about that. And then he was like, yeah, I made that up. And I was like, why would you make something like that up? And he was like, I wanted to seem cool. You had all these cool sex stories and sugar baby incidents and all this, and that. And I thought it would make us closer and I wanted to seem cool to you. And I said, Jared, I already thought you were cool. I was already talking to you almost every second of the day, every day, before then. You did like how about you just talk to me about some shit that we actually have in common? How about we talk about like succulents or funny ass TV shows or comedy? You don't what the fuck? And only now when I got hit with this flashback cuz I totally forgot that happened because it's like I totally forgot that he made up a whole backstory. So that it's like he painted a picture of him being some knight in shining armor to some old hag who he wasn't attracted to but wanted to fuck because he wanted to make me jealous, but then when the jealousy attempt didn't work, he was trying to paint it as, ooh, look at me, I'm such a thoughtful, nurturing guy by porking this old hag who's nothing but skin and bones and looks like the crypt keeper and she's sad about her husband dying, but I was able to give her an orgasm and stuff. What was weird about it is that he was trying to paint himself as a good guy, but he also was like, yeah, when she started talking about that sad shit, I just left. I didn't want to stick around for that. It got awkward. And it's like, so it's like you couldn't even commit to the bit of trying to paint yourself as a good person. Like, so you just got 90% of the way there and then said, fuck that. I'm going to leave this old lady who's crying and just dip. No cuddling, no aftercare. Just like, all right, well, thanks for the money and leave the motel. Like, or at least in the fictional it's a fictional story he told me. What the fuck is wrong with people? What the? I don't know. See, this is the type of shit where it's, nothing in their brains. Nothing. It's just a busted can of beans just spilling all over the place. Uh. What kind of weird shit was that? He was stupid in so many ways, though. There's a million other stories. I remember, though, that most noteworthy. Oh, this man. Like, we met in the comedy scene in my area. And there were plenty of other comedians that want me when, because it's like, yeah, it makes sense. When I first popped out, it's like, oh shit, who's that young fly chick? Like, who's like what? I was 22 or was I 23? I forget my age. How old was I? Well, I was young fly and nice and spry, 23 years old, titties sitting nice and high, waist sitting good, skin looking clear, looking fabulous and shit. So, simply put, I say this not to be arrogant, even though I am that bitch. Niggas wanted me. It was kind of obvious. Even when it wasn't obvious to me. I remember at some point I thought, why is everyone hiding at the corner of the room not talking to me? Until someone had to be like, Tamia, you're a woman. These are all comedians. They don't know how to talk to a woman. I said, but they're so talented and handsome. And he said, they are fucking busted. You are just a nice person and or delusional. And he said, also, no offense, none, like, all of them are like fucking divorced, autistic, or alcoholics. Simply put, they don't know what they're doing with a woman at all. So they're afraid of you. If they're not talking to you, they're afraid of you. And I was like, oh, okay. He said, also, everyone he wants to fuck you. And I was like, okay, that makes sense. Adds up. Now, I remember how me and Jared met. I went up, that same friend I was talking to, let's just say, I went up on the open mic, told some jokes, they flopped, whatever, and then next thing you know, as soon as, like, the show ended, a bum rush of comedians were, like, racing towards the door, not just to leave, but to see who was the first who could talk to me, and the first up was Jared, that stupid bitch. Oh my god, if I could rewind time, he's an evil man. But it's a shame he had to be so fucked up. But whatever. Let's just say after we started seeing each other, and it was good in the beginning, he just kept doing dumb shit. Like he'd be like, oh yeah, these comedians were talking shit about me and acting like I was undeserving about you. And just like, and he would make up fictional stories about other comedians who he thought were handsome enough to be threatening to like me. Like basically people who were more fit than him, had better skin than him, better teeth, or just better jokes. He was like, I don't want them to come and soup up Tamia. And Tamia has a good heart, so she'll believe me. And so he would tell me stories like, yeah, Jonathan and Miles were in the corner talking mad shit about me, like as I was only 5 feet away about you, and that, and just saying I was undeserving of you, and da 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 da, and making up hella shit. And I'd be like, oh yeah, that's out of pocket. Damn, now I'm looking at them kind of funny. That's really not cool. Like you're not doing shit but talking to me. And but then time eventually passed, and Jared, being a fucking coward, he was like, I would talk to him. I'd be like, "What's that thing you said about like Miles and Jonathan?" And then he'd be like, "What?" And I'd be like, "The thing you said about Miles and Jonathan. You said that they were talking shit about you and all that." And he'd be like, "I never said that." I said, "Yes, you did." He said, "Oh, well, if I did, I certainly didn't mean it that way." Like they didn't say it; they just alluded, like vaguely, and that's just slang for I made that shit up because I wanted to scare them away from you or make sure you didn't get too close to them. Like, what a fucking asshole. Also, if you're wondering, okay, so that night when he really did go, like, when he, if he wasn't really fucking some old lady, what did he really do? The answer is he really just got money from, like, I don't know what they call it. Is it a parlay or a bet? I don't know. He got money from some sort of bet or whatever. And that's how he got his cash. Niggas are so weird. Same for my ex Morgan, who I met before Jared, and that was annoying. I remember that I was freshly broken up with Morgan and just healing from the trauma of him, and then that's right when I met Jared. And Jared was trying to rush me into dating him. I fucking hate. If I wish I could kill Jared, but let's just stay on topic for now. I remember I dated Morgan, but to be, if it's like Morgan was a weird guy, let's just say we met as fuck buddies. He was an asshole back then, but if he was paying me, whatever. Time passed, and I dated Liam for a year, got out the relationship with Liam, got involved with Morgan, then 6 months, or almost six, like 4 months of hell. And then, like, around April, I guess Morgan had been acting super, super, super suspicious. Super suspicious. And it turns out Morgan, throughout the entire time of me knowing him and fucking him, he had a girlfriend. That was extremely fucking disturbing to realize. I remember my friends knew how shit was with Morgan. I was like, how come some days he's acting like he's super, super into me, but then the next day he's acting as if he's angry at me for something? And then it turns out the context was Morgan lied to me when we first met. He said he was a single man and this, and that. And it's kind of ironic because I remember one of our first conversations we had in his car, at least the ones that went well, was my stance on cheaters. I forgot how it came up in conversation, but one day after we had sex and I was getting taken home, it was like, I think he asked me, like, how do you feel about cheaters? And I said, I think they should be put to fucking death. And he was like, whoa, isn't that kind of harsh? And I said, not really, because there's no excuse for it. You could totally ruin someone's life. You could give them STDs. You could risk pregnancy. You can bring unwanted children into this lifetime, and then those kids grow up all super fucked up because of it. Broken families, messy divorces, lots of miscommunication. There's just no real reason for it, unless it's like a super abusive relationship where it kind of helps, like, mentally, like in those situations like I see how it can help you leave an abusive relationship. But usually Why the fuck would you cheat? It's just a gross thing to do. It's selfish, and there's no real excuse for it. It's just gross. That was my opinion when I was 20 or so. So, mind you, years have passed since then, and I was about 22 when I started being on better terms with Morgan and stuff, and sex got better and whatever. And let's just say at some point, like right when I broke up with Liam and hit up Morgan, that's when he was already in hot water with his girlfriend because I guess she found out about his like sex addiction and him messaging other women like the entire relationship and cheating, and it really fucked her up. So he was already in hot water, but then she forgave him, and she had just forgave him. And then you want to know what his stupid ass did the second he was forgiven? I remember I reached out to him and I was like, "I need a rebound. Are you free?" Because mind you, I thought he was single. He said, "Sure." Cue awkward sex. But then and then time passed, and then we started having more sex and flirting and being kind of cutesy. And I kind of thought, what if something was there with him? Interesting. But then guess what? That's when his girlfriend, I guess, just had a suspicion, or she just got fed up with him. Oh, I remember exactly how it ended. He's a terrible man. I won't tell the whole story. Let's just say she dumped his ass, rightfully so. And men who don't take accountability for their actions, they always want to blame someone else. So in his mind, he was thinking, fuck Tamia. Like, he was like, I like Tamia. I don't know if I want to date her, but I do like her a lot. But I also love my ex girlfriend, Cleo, who I thought I was going to marry and have a family with and be with for years and the rest of my life. How dare Cleo not fucking accept me cheating on her? How dare she? And I would have forgiven her if she cheated, but then also his dumbass was like, fuck Tamia, because Tamia is the one who made me feel an urge to do this in the first place. So therefore, it is her fault for my relationship ending, and I hate Tamia, and I want her to suffer and go through hell because it'll make me feel good. But then he would bounce between, like, I like Tamia, fuck that bitch, I like Tamia, fuck that bitch. He was a strange guy. But then I guess one day the guilt finally got to him because we were supposed to meet go to the Conservatory of Flowers, and I remember we met up. Oh no, we were supposed to meet up. I got all dolled up. I was so excited. Everybody knew. Everybody thought it was going to be his great redemption arc. You want to know what happened? He left me on red the entire day and then blocked me. We were supposed to meet like bright and early, and then next thing you know, it was like fucking 8 p.m. late at night. I was just crying to myself, fucking miserable. And I was about to crash out super fucking hard. Like, I think I was considering throwing a brick through one of his, through, well, anywhere I could of his property. Let's just say, eventually he called me up and he just admitted, I'm sorry, I lied to you this entire time. I actually had a girlfriend. And then I remember I had a bunch of feelings. I just was like, you mean to tell me every single time I have ever seen you, ever talked to you, that you ever even complained about me not fucking you, and you were asking me to get other girls for you, you actively had a girlfriend at home that loved you? What the fuck? And he was like, yes, and I'm sorry. But he was trying to own up for his mistakes in a tone, I guess, because he's Catholic, or whatever the fuck he is. He's hell. He's a piece of shit. But guilt. So, but he stayed on the phone. I'll give him that. He was trying to own up to his consequences, and he was afraid of how I'd react. But I just, because he knew. He also knew I can never tell Tamia I cheated because she thinks cheaters should be killed. But in that moment, I was like, I already knew he was a terrible person. I guess it's like, guess I'm learning how terrible he is. And then it kind of led to a cathartic release where I just was like, okay, well, so what else have you been lying about? And then next thing you know, it was like, I know it was an unusual thing to do. I had an attachment to that man, but also I was just curious. It's kind of like, how do I put this? Have you ever seen those evil villains who like reveal their grand plan like either before, during, or after it's already been done, just to prove like how they did it along the way, like all the signs missed? I kind of was like, you know what, if I get a chance to figure out how and why this psychopathic nigga has done this, I think I'll take it. I don't think it's why the fuck not? I'm already destroyed enough. I can't get any more destroyed. And I remember we met up and he got me food and he just was like, yeah, I told my girlfriend that my grandma didn't want people over, but then secretly I would have girls over all the time that my grandma either knew about or didn't. And it was like, oh, well, that's fucking evil, but smart tactic. And then even certain things I didn't notice because I was naive kind of slipped through the cracks. So I was like, oh, so when you said that you were going to therapy for your own sex addiction, and that when you were meeting up with me, that your therapist would go through your Reddit messages, so we had to talk on Etsy. That was really, and he was like, yep, that was my girlfriend actually doing it. And it was like, oh, hmm. And he just revealed so many more lies. It's like, oh. And I was like, why'd you lie about going to therapy in the first place? He said, I wanted to seem like a better person to you. And I said, how about actually trying to be a better person? You could have actually gotten the clout, you know? And what about your job that's been keeping you so busy lately, but has the sporadic shit schedule? And he was like, I actually don't have a job. I've been unemployed for months. And I was like, oh. And yet you've also been spending money on me while unemployed, huh? Hmm. And then, funny enough, he actually at first told me that he lived with his aunt, but it turns out it was actually his grandmother, and that was a smart lie because the reason he told me that lie was because he was like, if Tamia ever does that thing where she goes crazy and wants to like search for my family and call them up and snitch about what I've been doing, she's gonna call the wrong family member, and then I can just say it's some crazy lunatic weirdo who's delusional or schizophrenic. And that did play into his hand. He was a smart idiot. It was one of those things where it's like, wow, that is a lot of effort to put into being a piece of shit. Why? Just all of it. And the only reason for it was because he was mad that he and his girlfriend, who used to fuck all the time, were now only having sex like twice a week. He lied about having a job. He lied about family events. He lied about certain family. He hid an entire girlfriend for like 3 fucking years. Liars creep me out. There's only been like one liar where it kind of made sense. Like, okay, I dated this guy, we'll call him Patrick number one. He was the best one, kind of, but then also, he was the first one. I dated two Patricks in a row. It's how I differentiate them. To make it nice and simple, let's just say I remember when I first met him, he said that he had an older sister, an older brother, and then he himself, and then I forget if he mentioned another brother. I was like, oh, big happy family, yeah. And then I remember that in conversations, family would come up, and then he would kind of like tense up, but then he'd be like, oh yeah, she's off at college right now. Oh yeah, my brother, he's just really busy with work. He's out of town, da 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 da. And he kept it up. But mind you, we were just like casual flings or whatever. Like we were just supposed to be like a casual little fling. I thought we were just gonna make it to 3 dates. I fucked the shit out of him, and then I vanished from his life, as you're supposed to do in the summer. I thought he was pretty without any substance. But the next thing you know, the third date surprised both of us. We went to Ocean Beach. We had an exquisite time. We had all these sorts of like deep conversations. We attempted sex. The first time sucked. The second time that followed immediately after, which still kind of counts as the first time we had sex, a lot better. Woo, it was great. Next thing you know, it's like he was like, "Oh shit, she's really cool. Like I like the way she communicated with me and was patient with me and like kissed me softly." And the next thing you know, we were just chilling in his downstairs basement. He was showing me how many pull-ups he could do on his pull-up bar. We were listening to like really cool records. He was impressed that I was able to recognize the Fantasia record even though it was unlisted on the soundtrack he put on. And aside from that, yeah, we had some good conversations and moments. We went out for, I forget if it was Colombian or Venezuelan. I think it was Venezuelan, and he was super into like Latin America and like Mexican culture and stuff. So he was like, "Oh, I gotta teach you how good Venezuelan horchata is. It's better than anything else you've ever tried." And I remember as the order came out that he got us, and I was drinking on that horchata. I remember at some point he was like, "Oh yeah," and I talked to my mom. She said that you can stay overnight if you want, like as long as she's able to like meet with you in the morning. And I was like, "Oh, okay, that's sweet. Oh, that's really nice of her. Isn't that nice?" And I was kind of like, "Huh, this is kind of breaking through the confines of a fling, but am I opposed to it? Not fully." You want to know what happened next? At some point, I asked him, "Hey, so what happened?" Like, wait, no, I asked him this. Sorry, I said, "Oh, so am I gonna meet any of your siblings tonight? Because I know you mentioned that they're kind of busy and stuff, but I suppose I just ask because I want to make sure that I look nice and am on my best behavior if they're gonna be over and I get nervous around new people." And he froze and he kind of sulked and he started staring at the table and sort of you could see him breathing kind of heavy. And at first I thought, did I do something wrong? But then he was like, he kind of just was like, I have something to tell you, and I don't know how you're going to take it. And I was like, okay, what? And then he told me that he lied and that he actually is technically an only child. And I was like, oh, hmm, okay. So why'd you lie about that? And I was thinking to myself, is this guy a serial killer? Is he trying to kill me? Like, what kind of mental state is he in? But then he explained that his older sister was like the first attempt at his parents having a kid, and his mom never really got over that because the miscarriage traumatized her. And then she tried to have another, and then I believe that one did as well. And then finally, his actual older brother, who was born, he was like amazing. He was the rainbow baby, the golden child. And Patrick was the surprise baby, where it's like, it's like 7 years after you already have the one kid you think you need, and the parents thought they were barren anyway. They got surprised with Patrick, and they were like, oh, we didn't really want this, but can we complain? And he talked about how that dynamic kind of affected his life, but how the brothers were really, really close. And then next thing you know, his older brother Sam, it still makes me sad to talk about despite it being years, but let's just say his older brother was playing flag football, and you're not supposed to play it on concrete, but that's what the high school did, like, despite knowing it was a bad idea. And then I guess his older brother Sam did a jump that was way too high, and he flew up in the air. His friend jostled him at all the right time, and he went up and up and up and lost his balance and landed right on his skull. And there was blood everywhere, and everyone was traumatized, and they got the call home, and next thing you know, it was just everything in his family tore apart. And he talked about how it's just a weird dynamic in his family of, like, his mom has lost so many children. So many children. His dad was never the best at handling grief, so he couldn't use his dad as a support system, and the mom also got abusive and really, really weird, and kind of like, she just wasn't, she was not in the mental state quite to be a parent to the one child she had left, let's just say. And so sometimes she got really, really bad. And the dad did nothing. So, I guess he just lied because he thought, technically, I don't have siblings. But at some point, he did. But how he, in a society like this, as a man, you can't exactly always share how you emotionally feel, because people will beat you down for it. They'll make you feel bad. They'll make you feel like you're fucking stupid or weak. I remember that as he told me the story of Sam, I was trying to hide my emotions, but I brought my drink to my lips, and he just could kind of notice my hand was shaking, and my eyes were getting flooded with tears, and my mouth was curling, and he was like, "Are you okay?" And I said, "Yeah." And he said, "Are you sure? You look like you're about to vomit." And I just kind of broke down crying, and I was like, "I'm so fucking sorry." And I felt embarrassed because I thought, I don't want to make this about me, but fuck, that's sad. And I started crying, and I said, "This is extremely sad. Like, that's fucked up. You shouldn't. You were just a kid. You didn't need. You lost your brother, and then all that happened, and you didn't need to go through that at the time." And I got really emotional, and I think this is what started a connection between me and him. I remember that at some point he reached over and he grabbed my hand and he stroked it in such a nice, sensual way that I stopped crying. And he actually got kind of emotional too. Like, he wasn't the type of guy to cry, but he did kind of want to. And he just let me know that I was the first person to ever actually cry when he talked about it, to ever actually, like, show him emotion. No one else did. Every single other person, even though he was like 9 or 10 when he lost his brother, such a child, an actual child, and no one was nice to him. Everyone just either pitied him but didn't try to make an emotional connection and didn't care. They just, like, he was an afterthought to their own emotions as adults. And then his own friends that he still has to this day, which makes me sick, told him, he just was like, "I'm just sad because my older brother died and he was my best friend." And they looked him in the face, children, adults, all that, and said, "You're being a buzzkill. Stop talking about it. Get over it. Or else we don't want to be your friend and we don't want to hang out with you." And that's really fucking sad. In his case, I understand why he lied, and I respect that he was honest about it. Did he lie about anything else a lot more lighthearted so this doesn't end on such a heavy note? Let me think. Yeah, I guess this counts. I remember as we dated, at some point we had a few more dates, and then I remember I asked him like if he was talking to anyone else or like seeing anyone else, and he said, "Oh no, I'm not at all. Only you. You're the only one I have my eyes set on, and you're the only one I'm seeing." Let's just say I went through his phone like when he was sleeping, and then this asshole was like, "You didn't say anything about texting." I said seeing. I said I wasn't seeing people, Tamia. You didn't mention texting. Fucking fly. Hate flies. What the fuck was that? Sorry, a fly just like flew directly into my ear, buzzed hella loud, and fucked off, completely unprovoked. And then that same guy, I remember that after summer ended, he went back to college. But then when he did come back, he just was like, "Oh yeah, there's been a few women at parties here and there where it's like nothing would happen. Like I'd suck their titties, I'd eat their pussy a little bit, they'd suck my dick, but we wouldn't have actual sex because that was reserved for just you. Like penetrative sex is too sacred. I would only do that with someone like you because you are sacred to me." Simply put, I remember a part of me was like, "Ah, how sweet," but then the other part is like, "I'm not giving you fucking credit for that though." It's like, how do I put this? You can fuck other bitches. I don't care. We aren't a thing anymore. It's like, it's like, just suck the titties in peace. You don't need to be like, "I suck titties that aren't yours," but it's okay because specifically, I love almost, no, he never said loved. I really, really, really see a future with you, so I would only stick my dick in you because you mean a lot to me. As if, Bishop, like, if that even was true, but what kind of credit am I supposed to give him? I remember I even talked to other women about it, and they were delusional, and they were like, "Oh my god, isn't that so sweet?" It's like, even I, as the fucking 19-year-old, I was like, I wouldn't say that's sweet. Sweet's a strong word. But whatever, because I did also tell him, "Oh yeah, I've been with like 3 dudes since you, but they haven't been remotely as good as you." And actually, that was the truth, but it's like, I'm just saying. So it's like we both were hoeing around and adding fake attachments to it, but hey, whatever. Tying back to Morgan, I remember that when I was with Morgan, he specifically, it was like Halloween or after Halloween. I said, "Hey man, did you do anything fun for Halloween?" He was like, "Yeah, I went out and I visited my mom's place and I helped her like pass out candy to the kids. And I also, yeah, I just, I visited some friends. We had a little small kickback, a little bit of drinking happened. Nothing special. And then I came back home. And I said, "Are you lying?" He said, "How'd you know?" And I said, "Because you do that thing. You have like a mild stutter, like right before you lie. It's very subtle, but I've detected it. And then also, your mom's super religious. And then on top of that, yeah, I just get the feeling, man. Something about the way you paused, like right before you said it, it's like you were formulating a lie." And he laughed and said, "Okay, yes, I was lying." I said, "Why'd you lie?" He said, "I wanted to seem impressive to you." That shit is so, but I don't like when people do that. I really, really don't. Like, for example, I remember I dated, who? Who was it? Whatever. But nothing I hate more than niggas who lie either to seem powerful or to seem interesting because it's so disappointing. It's like it's someone I already would have found interesting. Actually, hey, back to Morgan again because it's relevant. I remember at some point when he did confess like all of as many of his lies as he could to me. I remember straight up it was like, "Hey man, how about I said, why do you keep lying?" He said, "I want to seem cool and interesting to other people. Even if I don't truly care about them, I just want to seem good to everybody. I don't like being seen as bad." And I said, "Well, idiot, you just ignored all of the millions of times I was like, 'Hey, Morgan, have me over and show me your comic books or teach me about video games.' And you just said, 'I'm going to just start fucking lying about going to parties and lying about having threesomes and going to orgies and this and that because you like no nigga." I told him when we first met and you told me this long elaborate story about how you fucked 3 different women in one day. I just thought to myself, huh, what a gross disturbing slut. I'm not gonna picture being around you for more than 3 times just for sex because you're disposable to me. But when I saw your comic book collection, I was fascinated, and ironically that was the thing you were least willing to show to me. I gotta say it, Morgan, stop fucking lying, stop doing dumb shit, because while you're doing that, like, you could have just been this entire time. Like, and I told him, "Did you know I am a huge comic book fan?" He said, "You are?" I said, "Yes, I've been one the whole time. I have a fucking thesaurus of goddamn Marvel Universe characters, for God's sake." I specifically wanted to have, just, wow. Simply put, you're destroying any chance you have of actually being seen as cool for who you naturally are because you're too wrapped up in making up bullshit. Like, How about this? How about you just, instead of lying about being some slutty fuckboy who's risking STDs and doing dumb shit and drinking all the time, how about you actually just teach me shit about your comic books? And then he did. And then, funny enough, our bond got a lot better because then he would sit there and be like, "Oh, these are the new comics I got," and he would show me like even some mint condition like Resident Evil comics that like were super super expensive and extremely rare and shit. And that's the type of shit I like, and that's the type of shit I respect. He got 10 times more adorable from that point on when he just embraced the fact that it's like, yes, show me your trading cards before we have sex. It's natural foreplay. Show me how many push ups you can do. And then he actually started, like, trying to put in honest effort to actually be honest. It was a good call. I don't know, I just hate dumbasses who lie. Like, for example, tying back to my ex Jared, I remember at some point, I forget what lies all got exposed at once, but I was like, how about this, Jared? How about this? You just tell me all the lies that you've got in your system, and then we can just start fresh and start anew and have a new path. And then he was like, I promise you 100% there's nothing else I'm lying about. Just for us to hang out. Like, I remember at some point a question came up. It was something like, hey, we have a mutual, or had a mutual friend in the comedy scene. I was like, oh, do you know about Vicky? He was like, yeah, I've never really had an interest in her. She's alright, I guess. And I was like, oh, really? You never went for that? It's fine if you did, because it's like we didn't meet before and you knew her sooner. He was like, nah, she's not my type at all. Never. Like, at most, we've had like one conversation. Like, I have no interest in her life. And guess what? Like, later that evening, we went out to dinner, and he said something that just kind of was like revealed he was lying. I don't remember what it was specifically because I tried to repress a lot of that relationship. Also, because what followed led to a breakdown in the bathroom and then a very bad mental health episode in the back of his car. But let's just say I had to learn that it's like, look at him. He's lying to my face about that being their only conversation. No, they've talked plenty of times. And then aside from that, I checked on Vicky's Instagram, and then what did I see? Jared liking the most recent post and in the comments and shit. And it's like, oh, I see. Very, very interesting. Let's just say I started screaming so hard in the goddamn bathrooms at that Mel's diner that I scared the shit out of all the workers. Yeah. Somehow the date continued, and then another lie got revealed, and I just was like, Jared, you already. Why do you keep lying about stupid shit? And then, oh my god, let's just say a whole lot of stupid fucking lies came out. Some of them were scary. Actually, I can share it. I remember the scariest lie. This came out like maybe. How soon did our relationship end after this? I don't remember. All I know is. No, I don't think I want to share it because it's a little bit too bad. Let's just say he lied about the age that his baby mother was when she was born. And I remember hanging out with his child. She told me, like, oh yeah, because you know my mom was only like a super young teenager when they got together anyway. And I was like, yeah, that's true. But then it's like, let's just say the age that the mother actually was concerning. Like, it was only a year, but that's still noticeable because it's like the age he was when he met. Like, it's like if you meet someone at 18 or whatever, okay, but it's like 17 and or potentially 16. That is terrible. Now, but I did the math, and he told a story, and I hate that it's like I didn't know what to believe at that point. Things got very, very weird that evening. There's too much to go into it, but if you're wondering why I stuck around, I really don't know. It was one of those things that just kind of like got repressed. But I did my research, and it was like, okay, like she was indeed 17 when they met. He claims that she had a fake ID and this, and that. But also, I did a deep dive on her social media at some point towards the end of our relationship, just because I was curious. And then let's just say things he said about how paying child support was like to her did not add up. Things about her being like a total hot mess. Like, some of that did align, but then some of it is like, oh, I don't know, you were painting her as some sort of immense danger, but it seems like she's doing, like, it's like, oh, she was always giving her daughter clothes and taking her out to eat, and I don't know. I don't want to talk about this too much more because it's already depressing me. Also, it's slightly off topic. So it's like, how do I put this? It's just one of those things where it's like, for the bigger shit, I see why he lied, but that's what's ridiculous is that it's like you could have just chose not to be a stupid, evil son of a bitch. You could, like, simply put, it's like if you're in a situation where you could say, I used to have an attraction to her back then, but decided it was not worth my time and I see nothing in her now, okay, that's at least honest. Do not lie and say, I have never, ever, ever seen her that way in my life, but then it's like a photo of her with her cleavage out and you're in the fucking likes of it and shit, leaving comments, and it's like, oh, it's like, come on now. That nigga was so stupid. It's like, because he'd be like, oh my god, Tamia's having breakdowns left and right. It's like, yeah, because there's a common denominator between you lying about the dumbest shit ever because you want to either be a shit starter or you're trying to make yourself look better, and it's just, what the fuck is wrong with you? Also, tying back to the thing about his baby mother, let's just say he claimed that it's like, she had a fake ID and that she was always drinking and smoking cigarettes, so that she assumed, so he believed her when she said that she was 19 when they first met, and he only found out later. But by then they had already kept being a thing, so he figured, why not keep it going? Like, he did eventually confess to that, but even then, I don't know. He said a lot of things. Now, not to defeat my own point, I guess I was just showing how it's like niggas can lie about big shit with no fucking issue, and it's scary. But it's more so for the smaller shit. When a nigga lies about small shit, like, lying about big shit still fucking sucks. Don't get me wrong, I'm still mad about that. I'm just saying, if you're out here lying about ridiculously minuscule shit, like, why are you lying and saying that you prostituted yourself out? I remember Jared also told me that he lied about his body count because he wanted to seem impressive to me, because mine definitely superseded his. I remember he was like, ah, shit, I've only had sex with like 5 women. I should double that number so that I can seem cooler to Tamia. He was like, yeah, I've had sex with 10 women. I said, 10? He was like, is that bad? And I said, no, it's just, I don't know, you're attractive. That's kind of a low number. And he was like, it is? It's like, yeah, because it's like you're 32. That's like one woman every 2 years since you've been, like, able to bang, or maybe even less. I'm not judging. It's just like, I'm just surprised you haven't been fucked more. But, no issue in it. Whatever. And I remember he was like, fuck. But it's like, he did eventually reveal to me, it's like, oh, you've only had sex with 5 women total. You could have just came out the gate with that. Because funny enough, ironically, I don't like men who fuck a lot. It's like, I probably would have had even more attraction to him. And also, it would have explained why he's bad at certain things in bed. It's like, nigga, you could have spared yourself. Because if you claim to have a high body count, and then I actually and then I have sex with you, then it's like, oh, okay, you're just negligent as fuck on purpose. But if you secretly have a low body count, it's like, oh, nigga, you could have just said that. You're practically a virgin. Come on now, I would have been a lot more patient. Like, I'm just saying, if you can't fuck after a body count of like 90, then you're just an asshole. But if you can, but if you can't fuck and you've only been with like 5 people or like 2 people, it's like, okay, that's rookie numbers. Rookie numbers. I get it. I'm just saying, I don't know. It's just, I get so annoyed whenever I meet people who lie. It is the dumbest shit ever. Like, oh my, people will be like, I'm so attracted to Tamia because she's honest and blunt and caring. And I, on the other hand, I am gonna be the most selfish, narcissistic, lying fucking cunt there ever was. And then it's like, for what? There's no end goal. There's no reason. There's no point. There's really no point. Like, how, like, I don't know, I just get so baffled when I see people who just could be a decent person and they just keep choosing not to be. And then those same people want to throw tantrums when it's like, oh no, my girlfriend who I've been cheating on for 3 years finally learned the truth and she wants to leave me. How dare that trifling bitch? Or, oh no, Tamia finally left me after I kept, like, endlessly lying to her and, like, treating her like shit and doing weird things to either try to increase my worth in her eyes, but failing, or because I just felt like being a cunt. And then it's like, simply put, the same people who lie usually can never take accountability for their actions, and they will just keep, it's so pathetic, and I just can't wrap my head around it. Because it's like, it takes more, like, I get it. It's scary to tell the truth, but I've been doing it for years, and I've been doing it pretty fucking well. So, it's one of those things where it's like, I get why telling the truth could be embarrassing or scary or whatever, like, but the feeling of shame for, like, being yourself, believe it or not, it hurts a lot less than the feeling of shame for, like, having a facade that everyone likes that is 100% not you. Even if you're like, oh, okay, if they don't like the fake me, at least it's a barrier. And I can always pull off the mask like Scooby-Doo and be like, surprise, it was all a lie, I'm actually cool underneath. But it's like, by then the damage is done. I just don't like that shit. Anyway. I think that's all I got in me. Just, I never understood liars. Because it's like, if these niggas just came to me off the bat and they were like, "Hey, I feel insecure about our relationship. Do you truly like me?" And like, it's like, I remember I was thinking about this today. I remember I thought of all the stupid lies and tactics Jared did to feel powerful or to hope that he was loved or liked by me. And I thought to myself, last year for Valentine's Day, I made him a strawberry orange bourbon that was the exact same shade of his gorgeous orange red curls in his head. I got him fucking gemstones and geodes and succulents. And I got him a card with a ring pop on it because it was a reference to how he has always wanted to put a ring pop up my ass. And I specifically was like, ooh, let me go ahead and be as, like, just let me go ahead and put an effort. I wrote him a whole card and everything that moved him to tears to make him feel like he was liked, and it still wasn't enough. Still didn't stop him from lying. Still didn't, like, if anything, it kind of worsened things. I don't know. It's like, for some of the worst shit he did, he thought, oh, I can just do Tamia bad because I know how much she likes me now. And for some of the good things, like, even when things were good, or even when he was trying to be good, he still would think, Tamia is too lovely. I like her a lot. I don't think I deserve her. And then he'd start lashing out or being a menace or being pathetic. I hate that. Anyway, at least that relationship's over because any day where I do not have to get screamed at over the phone by him or deal with stupid, misspelled insults from his ignoramus self, it's a good day. Being alone doesn't sound so bad when you just think about people who lie and who do shit like this for whatever dumbass reasons. Still sucks to be alone. But then again, sucks to be around people like this too. And then also, funny enough, Mitchell, that recent guy I saw, he lied and said he only had one older brother. He actually had two. And then on top of that, this total idiot. I actually think that he was gonna lie and say he was British. Like, he did mention that he was British and American mixed. But he did explain that his mom is British, and then as we were typing and texting, he just kept spelling words like arse, like, ooh, I'm gonna pinch your arse when I see you, or like trying to have random British slang tossed in here or there, even when it didn't really fit. And I noticed it, and I thought, okay, I got a cool, hot British guy, that's cool. Until eventually, I guess he kind of realized, like, ah, shit, I want to see her more than just a day. I want to see her for like 2 or 3 days, and if I do that, well, let's just say I can't keep I can't keep up a shitty accent for that long, realistically, so I think that was his process. He tried to play it off as if it was a mistake I made to assume, and he was like, by the way, I'm not British. I was like, oh, but you said you were. He was like, yeah, but I meant, like, my mom's from there and I'm American. I don't have the voice. I'm just, like, boring California boy. And I said, oh, okay. Slightly less cool, but I mean, frankly put, it's like, oh no, the hot guy I'm gonna be meeting is gonna sound like me. Oh no! And I was like, it's totally fine, dude. And we met up and we had a mostly good time, which I still may share about sometime. Anyway, peace out.